Thank you very much for being with us. Your story, it's amazing because you have made out of your failures within startups part of your research. So what does failure mean to you?
Well, failure means learning. It means that you have tried something that you believed in but didn't really work out. And I mean, the only thing you can do from that is to learn from it and take another step forward and do better next time.
So COVID has given us so many lessons, but one is the market, it's moving the world. So you actually, you do investigations within prosperity creation. What are the three things that cannot be missed when we are creating prosperity?
Well, that's a tough question because economists haven't really figured out how to create prosperity. But I think it's rather easy though. I mean, it is to let people follow their dreams and do the best they can and realize that the best way of serving yourself is to serve others. That is to be an entrepreneur. So to have an entrepreneurial society is among the most important things you can have. And that's how you build global, if you want to, and universal wealth and prosperity and lift everybody. I mean, it is, as they say, that a tide lifts all boats. It is true in the market. If you let the market be, and if you let entrepreneurs do their thing and create the wealth that they're able to. Of course, we're going to see a lot of failures. That's not. I mean, that's obvious. But these failures are also how the market itself learns and how entrepreneurs learn. And new entrepreneurs will learn from and build off of those failures to build new things and figure out how to better serve consumers. And that's really how the market works. It's entrepreneurs making money from serving consumers.
That's an amazing definition for entrepreneurship. So you focus on organizations, institutions, entrepreneurship, and management. It calls to my attention that not much governments. And an economist as a Mexican, we're very focused on governments. Why not focusing on them?
Yeah, that's a good question because government is ever present and is always and is involved in everything. And I think to me that is the problem, right? Because if a free market, a true market, in it you can only make money and improve your own situation in one way, and that is to serve others. Because it's all based on exchange. So you offer something of value and someone will offer you value in return if they consider it to be of value, right? So in a completely free market, you would have enormous growth and people would try to beat each other by offering more and more value to other people. So they would help lift the poor, they would help lift society at large by simply producing things that they think are more valuable and things that they want to produce. In this, we might need regulations to get rid of fraud, get rid of crime and things like that. But other than that, anything you do to restrict entrepreneurs, to limit what they can do and what dreams that they can have and what they can imagine that they can provide for consumers, all of this will mean that they have to pursue something else that is of lesser value, which means all of these regulations really hold back the market and hold back this prosperity creation that is possible. So we need to limit these regulations, limit all regulations. I'm not saying necessarily remove all regulations, but we need to recognize the real cost. And the real cost is really less prosperity for generations to come.
The next question, you kind of already answered it, but still I want to make it because you give very precise answers. From your research and from what you just said, we can, unfortunately, some of them are necessary, but we cannot get rid of governments. So what would be yours, from your research, what have you learned and that you can share with our audience about doing things even with governments that an economist as Mexican cannot get rid of them?
Well, the funny thing is that the best way of limiting government and, in a sense, pushing back government when government becomes too restrictive is to engage in entrepreneurship. And we see this over and over again in the market, that an industry that is highly regulated, it protects the businesses that are already there by simply making it really hard for other businesses to enter. So new entrepreneurs can't enter, which means that those businesses are stifled. There's not a whole lot of novelty or creation going on. So some of those industries have been basically the same for hundreds of years and not really improved a whole lot. And one such industry is my own, higher education. Because in the universities, we do the same thing today in the same way as we did in the 1400s. And that doesn't make any sense, but that's because universities are protected. That's why there's not a whole lot of innovation. But we are seeing that these industries are also ripe for disruption. So entrepreneurs who imagine a different way of doing things, not doing the same thing in a slightly different way, but completely undermining how things are done, much like Uber did to taxi businesses. To come from left field, as they say in the US, to come from out of nowhere in a sense, and provide the same type of service, but a much more valuable way to consumers in a different way so that they're not regulated, that will cause regulations to, in one way, become ineffective because they don't apply, and in another way, it will freak politicians out because politicians will need to figure out a way to remove those obstacles so that in this example, when Uber entered, taxi businesses couldn't compete because suddenly the protective regulations for taxis hindered taxis to compete with Uber. So governments rushed to deregulate taxi businesses all over the world in order for them to compete properly with Uber. So in a sense, entrepreneurship is, to me, a very effective way of getting rid of regulations that are too stifling, that are too anti-innovation and too anti-value creation.
Amazing. Thank you very much.
That's it?
That's it.